analysis of this formation by Milton Hill Farms.
Is this a recent one?
2000. He went there with Jean-Noël Auberon, French engineer, and they wanted to measure magnetic field intensity of the circle. And they interpolated it in 36 different points, because in science you can't measure every point, so between the points you kind of average it out and look at the trends and so forth. That's called interpolation. They built a model. They detected large magnetic anomalies exactly where the circles are, which led Colin to believe that there were very powerful magnets buried in the center of those circles. And he couldn't explain it. But as someone asked about magnetism before, in this formation, magnetic north was off from true north by 3 degrees. So that is a real effect. It's an old tumuli. These are old Celtic burial mounds that the farmers either left there or they're protected by state law. And some actually folks decided to make the circle. We now know who made this. I know all 5 people have made this. We visited the area and we met the circle makers. We just put it that way. I don't have any doubt. As I talked to them individually, and they all gave me the same story about why they picked this area and so forth. So this is a man-made formation, in my humble opinion. And it created these magnetic effects which were detectable on a magnetometer, enough to affect true north, and enough to lead Colin to believe that magnets were buried here. Now, the circle makers didn't bury any magnets there. So either they picked a spot where their magnets buried, I'm not saying that's impossible, or the other exciting possibility is just bending the wheat in circles like that creates magnetic shifts. And that's pretty important. Because you and I can't just, with these materials, easily make a magnetic shift, but you can with wheat in a couple hours. I think if that's what's going on here, if that's what happened, that's pretty important. And that needs some explanation. Because you don't have these dipole magnets buried there, but you're getting the same effect just from the wheat, unless something else happened there that none of us know about. So I think you can see why this is so mysterious.
Question on that.
Yeah,
I noticed some of the shapes that I've seen were prehistoric shapes that were considered to be sacred by the Druids and sacred by some other religions. Has that anything to do with it?
Oh yeah, you know, it's a good question. A lot of the circle makers that I've talked to don't know where the patterns they create, where they come from. They pop into their minds. It's almost like remote viewing. They just feel compelled to make them. These are old archetypal symbols. They're not new, but they're done in a new way. Now this Celtic cross is obviously an old Celtic symbol. But a lot of the shapes kind of have that hieroglyphic or old feeling, but they're modern. They're weirdly a combination of the future and the past at the same time. From my point of view, they look. They could look different to everybody. Just mean that they're modern and they're past. Sometimes they deliberately go out and will make things that have to do with 2012 and other well-known Aztec patterns. They're all different types. And so sometimes they do. Now this is a Celtic cross. It is that old Celtic symbol. Apparently where, you know, the cross came from is the Celtic form was the original form of it.
No. No, Native Americans before the Celts.
Okay, then even the Native Americans. But this is an ancient symbol, and these folks were attempting to, you know, recreate it. And here it creates these magnetic effects. Now, I really would like to know how that magnetic effect was created from humans flattening wheat over a space of a couple hours. I mean, that's technology. You're looking at technology there. I'm sorry, this is like as important as a transistor. It's a natural transistor. It's an organic transistor. Now, the only way you get magnetic effects are if you're running electricity through something, metal can create magnetic effects, or you have a naturally magnetic material like iron. But, you know, something about that pattern is great. It's fascinating. It's just another part of the mystery here, a piece of evidence.
Several questions. Okay, one is, why don't you, well, I've heard that there are crop circles on ice, on treetops, and on fish. How come nobody ever talks about that? Then on top of that, is it just wheat? Could it be corn?
Right.
And then the third thing is, don't you think that if you're making crop circles on your own, man-made supposedly, that the bees might not be too happy if you're tapping into, like playing with fire, which you're saying this has some sort of energy that it produces certain crop forms?
That's a very interesting set of questions. Go back to the first one. I'll tell you why. I mean, yes, it can be done on materials, barley, oats, canola.
Is there anyone that focuses more?
Most of them are done in wheat, and those ones I've seen have been done in wheat. So it's mostly done in wheat. Now, the ice circles, I think, could be a different phenomenon. I don't know if it's the same thing. Tree circles, all stuff like that. I don't know if they're all being created the same way.
On fish, in fact, is it on fish?
Yeah, I don't know enough about that. I can only talk about the ones I've seen. But I don't know if it's the same phenomenon. But it's a good question. Well, it could be. I don't know. I mean, I kind of doubt it's being made the same way these really huge patterns are. But it raises the question, if you take any material and you shape it into a shape, are you going to get these metamaterial effects? I mean, maybe that's how these UFOs work. It's always been reported that the hulls are thin, lightweight materials, very strong, can't be broken with anything. And these materials are special properties. We know, you and I all know people in the aerospace industry that have worked with these materials. Okay, and they tell us, I've talked to a lot of these folks, UFO conferences, everything. They tell me, no, it was from a UFO. I said, so you think it was from a UFO? They say, no, I know this was not man-made. There's not anything made like that. And none of the guys in the lab thought it was man-made either. It's something else. You've heard people around here say that. There's a lot of these folks. You begin to wonder, and now these UFO materials they pick up from crash sites and so forth, when they have them measured by metallurgical labs, we're told that they are definitely not isotopes you find on Earth, but it's man-made material and has this nanostructure. So you begin to wonder whether shapes and what we do today. It opens a lot of questions. Now, whether we should be doing this, it's interesting. I received a communication from Stan Romanek a couple of years ago where he said there was this channeling, apparently, that he did, where they had a message from me. And they said, tell Simeon he shouldn't make his crop circles. Stop making those crop circles in Colorado. Now, I have never made a crop circle in Colorado. We've thought about it. We can't find a farmer. It just hasn't worked out. We've done it in Washington, and we've done it in Kansas, and I'm looking for farmers in Idaho, because we have our nonprofit. But I haven't done them in Colorado, so I just don't take my marching orders from the grids, okay?
Actually, Russell told me that you guys did.
No, we've never done anything. No, we have not done anything in Colorado that I'm aware of. He might have done something that not told me, but I have never done anything in Colorado. I sure would like to, but we haven't done it. And I would have a slide of it here, be proud if we haven't. So, here's the thing about the ETs. They're just not one set of folks. It's like a lot of different points of view out there, and you got to choose which one works with you. You just can't be authoritarian about it and say whatever they say you got to do. At least that's my point of view. Now, I could be struck by a bolt of lightning, but I think we're here to be the creators. We're the creator people, and they don't have to like it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The ones that I know about, the channeling I listen to, it says go for it.
Yeah.
I have on my audiobook, I have the channeling we heard from Mother Earth, Pepper Lewis, a couple of years ago. Someone paid for us to have a channeling, a special private session with Pepper Lewis. And she said, and don't think this is really funny, she said, go for it. This is here for humans to experiment with. There's far more need to get used to this. It's important. It's such an important technology, you're not going to be allowed to understand it for a while because it has military applications. That's really got my interest. So she said, yeah, human circles are good. Then we had Zosh channeling in the afternoon. This was in Boulder. And I asked him about human circles, and he said, don't be messing in no farmer's field. Those are just fakes. Two different points of view from two different, well-respected channels. And then he said at the very end, parting words. By the way, if anything I said didn't jive with your belief system, just forget I ever said. So I think there's very different levels of this, and you shouldn't take any of it too literally. You should have to deal with what is right for you. And for me, experimenting with this, we asked a farmer, and they learned something. I think this is, we're not going to go back to the age of witchcraft where people were burned at the stake for doing remote viewing, and no one even believed in the Wright brothers originally. They thought that was adults too. Those guys suffered a lot of grief. All inventors do. I just see this is kind of an advanced technology that we should be experimenting with, those who want to, because it's just basically very educational. And I don't see anything wrong with it. And if the ETs want to continue to make their circles, that's fine. We can all do our circles.
Well, the implications are incredible. I mean, I used to kind of think along the same lines, but I didn't know as much. But if we can very simply, by making these patterns in our wheat, find ways to heal ourselves, I mean, for our sake, that's amazing.
Also,
Superstitious better.
Nancy Talbot, on one of her lectures, said that wheat is growing at a phenomenal rate, 3 times more than what we get. So that could be a way to stop famine.
There's a lot of possibilities